Hey folks, welcome back to DCS. Pretty big news for you today. We hit 10,000 subscribers the other day, so massive thank you to you all for that. In celebration, I finally set up my own Discord server. There'll be a link in the video description. Hop on there if you want to say hi or maybe have some games together. In addition, I'm also thinking of turning on channel memberships. Of course, there is absolutely no pressure whatsoever to support the channel financially, but if you feel that way inclined and you like what we're doing here, then feel free. I'll be very grateful. There will be some special rewards in the Discord server and also in videos for people who do that, so it won't be for nothing. Also, before we continue on, we are actually merged with the MiG-21, so I'll keep this brief. In my last MiG-19 video, I talked about the launch of Enigma's version 2, and I had some damning critique. Enigma himself actually responded in the comments, and he set a lot of the record straight. He told me about how many lines of code there are in version 2, and he told me about a bug where craters are actually spawned when bullets hit the ground in the server right now, so it's quite obvious to see from that why the performance would be awful, even despite the multi-threading update. I feel very confident that when that bug gets fixed, the server performance of version 2 will be far superior to that of version 1. I will attempt to re-find the comments that I found from Enigma himself, and I will paste them on the screen so you can see them for yourself. Moving on. We are in a dogfight with the MiG-21. We have a friendly F-5 with us. Currently, the F-5 is between me and the MiG-21, and we're both rating with him in the same direction. Now, this is a waste of effort for both of us to do, because he is able to fight both of us with one turn if we both continue turning in the same direction. It's counterintuitive for using 2-on-1 tactics on one target to both be doing the same thing. So I stay in lag to regain some energy. Unfortunately, in this situation, another MiG-21 enters the mix. But because I separated for energy and lagged my turn, I'm actually in a position to engage that second MiG-21. Our friendly F-5 managed to kill the original MiG-21. Unfortunately, the second one pulls in right behind him immediately afterwards, but if it weren't for me being here to help him out, it might have been a 1-for-1 with the F-5 dying. But what ended up happening is that I managed to clean this guy up, so we end up with 2 F-5s surviving and 2 MiG-21s dying. Not at all a bad little engagement style video. I did want to talk a little bit about fuel management in the F-5, because with version 2 of Enigmas, you cover a lot more ground than you did in version 1. You don't get road bases anymore, and some of the transit times between flights are actually really long, so knowing that flying higher means you use less fuel, and trying not to stay in afterburner for too long when you don't need to be, are both huge tips to have for fuel conservation. The F-5 really goes through fuel extremely quickly when you full throttle in, and because of how much it loses speed in dogfights, you kind of have to full throttle through most of your engagements, which means that if you're flying around between those engagements at full throttle as well, you'll be lucky to get 25 minutes out of it. As it stands, I think that with careful planning you can probably push it to closer to 40, but that's probably a rare occurrence. So right now we're at about half fuel, and I will be periodically sticking up little things to tell you how long the flight's been going on, because we did actually join from the very start of this video. We were about 15 minutes into the sort. So we merged with the Fishbed at quite high altitude, and I managed to find a friendly Tomcat. Now, if I had one recommendation for a way to improve this server, it would be to allow us to ask for friendly picture calls as well, because not knowing where your teammates are makes it very difficult to position yourself in a way where you're not going to get gangbanged, because Overlord only tells you about the one closest contact to you, or if they're in a 2-ship, 3-ship, 4-ship. So if there was a way to know where your teammates were, then it'd be easy to stick with them. So if you were surprised by how many contacts there were with the one that Overlord is sending you to, you would at least be safe in the knowledge that you know where the teammates are to run to for support. And as it stands right now, that just doesn't exist. So it was absolute pure fluke for this Tomcat that I happened to follow an Overlord call to the same guy, and that he was on his own without backup. And the MiG-21 didn't know the Tomcat would have backup either. So we got Fishbed 8 nautical miles away, dead ahead, and I can see something visually. I'm not entirely sure what it is at this moment, but as we get closer, it's an A-10. A-10s are huge, so they're quite an easy thing to spot from far away. And knowing that the A10 is there and there's a MiG-21 in the same direction, my guess is that they're going to be engaging one another. So go to the A10, find the MiG-21, and that's exactly what happens. Looks like the MiG-21 just dropped his fuel tank. A10's engaging. They're in a right-hand rate fight right now. And I just come along at just the right time to get some shots in. Not the greatest of hits, but for whatever reason, MiG-21 flips out and goes straight in. So in terms of like gunshots to kills, that's probably the most efficient kill I've ever had in this game. So we got another call out for a MiG-19 15 miles away. Fuel's about a third, maybe just a bit more than a third. But we are very far from the nearest friendly runway. So when I check the map, 12 miles in the direction call is actually where their literal airbase is. So if I head in that direction to find him, I'm just going to be feeding myself to their runway's AA defences. So I initially think I'm going to just get the fuck out of here because I'm going to get, you know, I'm miles away, I've not got a lot of fuel. They're going to just keep coming and coming and coming, and I'm not going to be able to do anything about it. But the guilt of leaving my A10 friend behind makes me turn back in. The MiG-19 doesn't see me. And this gives me a little bit of a brainwave for later on, which we'll get into shortly. The stuttering that's happening right now is only going to last another minute. It's because I wasn't recording live. I hit the replay button, and whilst it's writing the file, it's kind of taking some processing power away and it's causing these stutters. The gameplay itself was actually fine. I don't know why it's related to the video so badly, but it's going to fix itself any second now. This MiG-19, I would not normally be engaging in this way, but I noticed that it has his fuel tanks on, and the amount of weight and the G limiting that he has to impose on himself to keep them on his plane, because he'll rip them off otherwise, is going to make it so the F5 can actually handily maneuver with the MiG-19. If he had dropped them, I would have been extremely concerned, but it was not to be, and by the time he does drop them, it is far too late. So fuel is now down to probably about a quarter remaining, and we are a good 120 miles, I would say, from whichever airbase it was we took off from, I can't remember. And we just get a call out 4 miles, a farmer, and 3 fish beds. Shit the bed. I'm just going to get the fuck out of here. But then I think, what about the A10 though? He is absolutely fucked if I don't go and help him. And this is where the brainwave comes in. So the way that Enigma's server works is that it only gives you the closest contacts bearing. And obviously, they're all going to be closer to the A10 than me. So they aren't going to know necessarily that I'm here. Which means that if I play this well, if I kill them all efficiently, quickly, and in limited passes, ideally 1 pass each, then they won't necessarily have time to react. So I see 2 of them right here. One of them's climbing. I'm going to focus him first because people don't tend to look up as much, which means that the other guy was focused on the A10 already anyway. This guy, I'm behind him, so with the visibility of the MiG, he's not going to necessarily know I'm here. They're unlikely to call for Overlord again because we're so close to their base that only a ground attacker needs to be anywhere near here to begin with, so they're probably not thinking they're at much risk. This guy obviously does know that I'm here now because he just ditched his tank and he's trying to extend away. I briefly lose him here, but in regaining viz on him I see the A10 again, which is currently shooting at one of the MiG-21s. Because of the energy I'm carrying, I decide to switch targets, so although this is going to make the second one aware of me, I'm in a very good position to kill him a lot quicker than I was killing the other guy. And whilst the other guy is zooming away, if I switch targets, he might still think I'm behind him. He might lose viz because the visibility on the MiG is awful. And whilst all that's happening, I'm killing this guy in 1 pass, which was the initial plan for the first guy. So I see the A10 behind me. MiG-21 that I was on before just dived in on the A10 flying in the other direction. That splash is the guy I just hit with guns. So we're down to 2 MiG-21s and a MiG-19 now. The other MiG-21 I chased high at the beginning is gunning for the A10. He's looking pretty slow. So even though he went up and down, he's doing all these swooping maneuvers, I think he's getting caught up in the moment and just, he's kill hungry. And he's throwing it away because of greed. And he's getting tunnel visioned. He's panicking, he's pulling hard, he's making his MiG-21 wobble around like a salmon fish. And what that means for me is that he is low on energy, but it also means he can get on my 6. He can force an overshoot quite quickly because the salmon flop in. I can't do that, so I go high instead. I'm really struggling to not like flop over myself here. A10 has the time to come around on that guy. Worked out pretty nicely. He got some hits with his gun. I think he shot one of his elevators off, or damaged one at least. And then the MiG-21 just blows up. I think that the third MiG-21 fired a longer range Fox 2, and what we saw was a missile with its motor burnt out hitting the MiG-21. So that MiG-21 just team killed his own guy. And he didn't see me because he was firing on the A10. He is obviously higher than me and he has better thrust than me, so he has advantage energy wise in this situation. So I try and get some hits in at range because it just would have been awesome. And what a better way of preventing him from having an energy advantage on me than by just killing him straight up. He seems to have somehow ruined his energy advantage though, because he's now slow as balls and wallowing around. As we get closer, I notice that he has his tank on still and rocket pods, so me being on like a thimble of fuel means that I actually have an advantage over him in terms of energy state and maybe even acceleration. Unfortunately, I'm out of guns, which is why I didn't shoot at him when we were inches away just a second ago. A10 doesn't have that problem, however. Unfortunately, the A10 misses, but in his panic, this guy just decks it. Spoiler alert. Epic win. I don't know what happened to the MiG-19. It never shows up. So we just saved the A10 from 3 MiG-21s. He kind of saved himself from 2 of them, to be fair to him. He did a fucking good job there. I think we only actually got credit with one of the kills, but I think that's a 5-piece, an ace in a flight. And the issue is that I'm now so low on fuel that one of my engines has died, and I'm still just as far from the airbase as I was before. Was turning back in the best idea? For me, probably not. But the A10 at least survived, and in this server environment, it's really the ground attackers that make the most impact. So I'm going to call it a win. And I was hoping to gently bring her down on this road, but it turned out to be a train track. And apparently you can't land on those. So yeah, that's the video folks. Thanks a lot for watching. Be sure to check out the Discord in the description. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.